non-governmental organization, Kopanang Africa Against Xenophobia, has criticized misinformation on social media, which the organization says fuels xenophobic attacks. We're joined by the organization's spokesperson, Dr. Dale McKinley, to tell us more. Dr. McKinley, thank you very much for availing yourself this morning. For the sake of someone who's not on social media, what do they need to know?
Well, basically, there's been a whole range of videos and voice notes that have been circulating over the last week after these tavern killings in particular that are pointing to the fact that supposedly foreign nationals committed these crimes. I mean, there's videos of people unloading AK-47s, which could be anywhere. There's voice notes saying that there's plans outside to come in and attack South Africans. And so what we're saying is these things are simply inciting more retribution, more violence. They're confusing people, and they're pointing fingers where they don't really need to be pointed. We need to let the law take its course, the investigations take its course, and the authorities need to track down the people who are spreading this misinformation and lies, because it's against our laws. It's an incitement to violence, and that is breaking the law.
This breach of the law that you speak of, are you confident that there'll actually be anyone to follow up on this?
We would hope so. I mean, if we learned anything from the July unrests, when all of that social media was being used to stoke the unrest, the crime intelligence needs to be jacked up. This is a clear, mandate that the police have. So instead of going and militarizing and then basically going in for 2 or 3 days and a lot of police being seen, what we really need is the police to do their jobs over a long period of time, and we expect that they should do that. If the minister is listening, that's where he needs to put the resources and the manpower, is in crime intelligence, so that these things can be seen before and the police can then prevent them from hopefully happening.
To your knowledge, is there any tension on the ground? Have any people that you are affiliated to, for lack of a better word, members of Kopanang Africa Against Xenophobia, have they relayed any stories of tensions on the ground where they are being intimidated?
Well, yes. I mean, we have, in fact, yesterday on this very news channel, we had Lux Mohlali saying basically that he had information that foreign nationals were doing this in Soweto and he was going to give it to the police. And I challenged him and said, give the information to the police. But our activists on the ground are worried, because when you have innuendo and you have rumor, it leads to tragic circumstances. We've seen this in the past. So people are feeling a bit afraid. They're feeling a bit anxious because they don't know what's going to happen. And that's why our authorities need to step in, need to reassure people that they are on the job, that they are doing what they can, and that they're trying to track people down responsible. And I think then when people will start rebuilding the trust in our law enforcement authorities and feeling safe where they are.
How do we stem the tide? South Africa is not the exception to the rule for this, right? There are South Africans who feel that this country does not necessarily work for them, and who would then be susceptible to such messages that are doing the rounds on social media, that certain crimes are being perpetuated by non-South Africans. How then, do we bridge the divide? Where to from here?
Well, we bridged the divide by having united communities. In my community in Brixton, yesterday, Operation Dudula marched. And we basically came out and said, well, this is not what our community is about. We have many international migrants. We've seen in Thembelihle, where there was a shooting last night, the same kind of attempt to bring foreign nationals and South Africans together. This is where we're going to have to mend the divisions, is in the communities, with people themselves reaching out. We can rely on the authorities to a certain extent to keep law and order, hopefully, but in terms of the communities, whether it's in townships, whether it's in suburbs, wherever it is, it's people themselves that are going to have to reach out to each other, cross those divides, and we are convinced that the majority of South Africans, the majority of foreign nationals that live in our country want to do that. They don't want to fuel more hatred and more division and more violence. It's not going to end good. So I think it's a clarion call to people in civil society and community organizations, residents associations, to begin to heal those divides ourselves. We've seen it happening, and it can happen even more so.
Dale McKenzie is with Kopanang Africa Against Xenophobia. Thank you very much for availing yourself this morning.